Riots in the streets. Today I'm talking about riots that are going on all around the world. This is Venezuela that you're looking at right now, but that represents just every city around the world that's going to happen. Why? Because of this collapse scenario. We're dealing with it right now in many different cities. It's not just Venezuela. It's every city, and slowly but surely the dominoes are falling. That's how this happens. As they get more stricken into poverty, the public gets more and more upset and they begin their upheaval. So this happens to be Venezuela. Here's more violence in Venezuela, and people think that this can't happen on their doorstep. Well, I'll show you various countries around the world that this is happening in right now or just happened. Remember that it's not just your city, but it's coming to every major city. That's the point I'm trying to make, and I'm going to teach you, some simple steps to prepare. This right here was in Kiev in Ukraine. Look at the violence that's going on right now. The public is just going to get their faces smashed in by the police, and that's happened all around the world. We see that in the G20 protests, as I'll show you, and other places. What about this in China right here? There was a mass riot and individuals were dead, including 2 policemen, and you know that this is just going to cause more havoc going down the line. Let me go on quickly. It's also happening in Mexico, which if you've ever been to Mexico, you will see the police state. There are army on the street, the police on the street. There are checkpoints everywhere, and that's the way, in particular, the U.S. is heading. They have checkpoints on every little corner here, army with their huge automatic rifles, and violence is just expanding and expanding. And that's the kind of thing that happens. When people are stricken into poverty, they lose it all. What about this G20? I found this article interesting. Toronto police officer found not guilty of assault in G20 protests. Of course, because they're working for the government. They were beating people senselessly. I was in this myself. Not in the protests, but the office is downtown Toronto, and that's where they have all the gated area there, and you are a criminal. If you were in this as well, you will see that the criminals are the individual citizens, not the protesters and not the actual criminals that were committing crimes at that time. It was the individuals trying to scare the heck out of everyone, and no matter how many beatings they relentlessly gave to people, that just didn't matter because they just got off scot-free. My worry is this, the empty store shelves. See, people are going to rush into the stores when the things get bad. They're going to buy up everything in sight, and the supermarket only has about 3 days worth of food. That's a general rule. And of course, 99% of people are not prepared. So ultimately, they're going to rush into the stores, they're going to fight each other, and they're going to be left with empty shelves. And that's when the riots will break out. This is not fear-mongering. This is historical data here. It happens in every country. They empty the store shelves, and there's no more food. They begin to riot. Why? Because they have to feed their families. It's a simple formula here. I don't know why people are suggesting that it's just fear-mongering. That's absolutely idiotic. These are my suggestions. Take which ones you want. I recommend doing all of them and then go beyond this. This is just a few points that I decided to write up here. Take your money out of the bank the very first thing, because when you have your money in this banking system, they can lock it down, they can do bail-ins, they can do bailouts. You obviously are going to use inflation. You take your money out of the banking system and you leave the money that you need for daily transactions. Perhaps you're a business owner, you need to pay your staff on payroll, I understand. But your savings should not be in the bank, not a penny of it. You will then use your money to pay down your debt. If you have a mortgage, if you have any type of loan or anything, pay that down. I understand that people think that a hyperinflation scenario, they're going to get all their debts paid off. Well, it doesn't really work like that. I suggest you go more into reading history and actually find out historically how that doesn't work sometimes. Buy assets. And I'm talking about not just gold and silver, although those are great. You need to get into other things. For example, real estate. Now, people say, well, I can't afford a home, and particularly in Toronto here, you're looking at $700,000, $600,000 for the average house. So it's very expensive, generally unaffordable. But however, why not buy a parking space in a nice area? What about a Storage unit. These are also very good if you get it in the right area. These are much more affordable, and it still has that real estate value attached to it. You can make a monthly passive income depending on the price. This is a great asset, a great investment. So don't just worry about the gold and silver. You have to expand out, and that's something we could talk about later. Get a Berkey filter. The Berkey water filter is something that I recommend to everybody. I just did a video, my last video here, talking about the water supply. It's polluted with pharmaceuticals, not to mention the chlorine, not to mention the fluoride and all that stuff. But the Berkey filter, it's the most affordable filter you can have. It doesn't require any power, and it's well made and all that stuff. Let me go on quickly. Buy storable food. I think this is pretty obvious, but if you don't have some sort of storable food, you're really going to run into trouble in the future, because ultimately, as you saw, the store shelves are running thin. And that happens in any sort of disaster, whether it's just a snowstorm or a hurricane or whatever it might be. You need some storable food. Now, you might say, I don't want to eat that food. It doesn't taste good and all this stuff. The point is that you don't want to eat it, but should you need to, you have that ability to eat. I mean, it's an essential thing, and people are really taking it for granted because, of course, every time they go to that supermarket, the store shelves are nice and full. However, that may change very soon. Protect your family. I'm going to leave that one up to you, but you need protection, and your family needs to be protected. I recommend multi-level of protection. If you think that just having a gun is going to save you, there is much more to that, and I'll get to that in a different topic, different video. Most importantly out of all of these is to get educated, begin your knowledge. If you're just starting out, get into reading the books, get onto the YouTube. You have to sort of venture off the YouTube as well. YouTube is great to start and to keep up to date, but it is much more important to learn the historical data. That's whenever I can intersperse this historical data with my videos, I really try to, because that's really where we're going to learn from. We learn about the future from the past. The further we go into the past, the more we can find out about the future. That's pretty obvious. Get educated, read, talk to people, talk to your friends and family, find out what they know. I learn a lot from other people as well, and it's very important to be humble and to learn from others. I just want you to know that, if you want some one-on-one time, let me know. Email me directly. Do not post that in the comments below. Just email me directly, either on the Insiders. You can get on that at themoneygps.com, or email me at david@themoneygps.com. Either one. And that's all I have to say for this video, and I'll talk to you soon.